Yes! Best movie of the year, no doubt.
Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, join it or something.
Hey everyone, Lucamus Prime here. So, it's time for a brand new movie today for a film I've literally just seen today, of course, at the cinema this evening. And this is for a film which I was really hyped for, and definitely my most anticipated movie of this year. And this one, of course, is none other than 2024's Sonic the Hedgehog 3. So, this was once again directed by Jeff Fowler, who returns to direct from the first two films, and is written by Pat Casey, Josh Miller, and John Whittington, based on a story by Casey and Miller, with lots of main cast returning surprise roles alongside new ones joining. So, now when it comes, of course, to how this film was made then, so this film was announced in February 2022 during Viacom CBS's investor event before the release of the previous film Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And when the film was being made, at first, due to the 2023 SAG-AFTRA strike, filming began for the CGI characters before the live-action actors, of course, came onto film in November that year in London. And then production finished by March 2024. And this film draws inspiration from the video games Sonic Adventure 2 from 2001 and the 2005 game Shadow the Hedgehog. And it loosely adapts the plot of the Shadow game as well. So, when it comes to the film's release, it of course premiered at the Empire Leicester Square in London on December 10th, 2024, and was then released by Paramount Pictures in the United States on December 20th. And so far, the film has received positive reviews, with praise for performances, in particular by Jim Carrey, and of course, my favourite actor, Keanu Reeves, who was cast in this film to voice Shadow the Hedgehog. And it's pretty awesome because he was a major fan casting for a role, and especially I wanted him to voice him among many other people too. And of course, we finally got our wish because he got cast in the role, mainly because of the parallels between his performance in the John Wick films and of course Jeff Fowler's own vision for the character of Shadow as well. So, when it comes to my reaction to this film then, so I've literally just got home from watching this film at the cinema because I knew I had to see this film at the cinema, no doubt about it, because I was so hyped for it. I was sold based on the trailers. I knew I had to see this film. So, I went to see it at the cinema just now, and oh my god, this film was an absolute masterpiece. I've been saying, of course, this one could pull a top Sonic 2 to be my favourite game movie of all time, and it's just accomplished that. This is my favourite video game movie of all time. In my opinion, the best of the Sonic movies, no question about that whatsoever. Just an absolute masterpiece. The wait was 100% worth it, and the hype was also definitely worth it too as well. I absolutely adore this film. Now, I'm going to talk about the film's plot, guys, so just be warned, this review will contain major spoilers, so if you guys have not seen the film, then please go and see it at the cinema right now. You will not regret seeing it. It's an absolute masterpiece. Please see the film before you see this review, because this will contain major spoilers. So, I'm going to give you a countdown from 5 to 0, of course, as a warning. So, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, so, now, so what is the film about then? So, of course, the film opens actually, of course, with the introduction, of course, of Shadow himself. And we see, of course, off the coast of Japan that he's being held, of course, in a secret gun facility like at the end of Sonic 2. And the prison facility's systems are hacked, which, of course, awakens him, of course, as depicted, of course, like in the end of Sonic 2. And he, of course, escapes. And we get a really awesome action sequence, of course, where he defeats the guards with his abilities like teleporting and his super strength. Then, of course, he heads towards the city of Tokyo nearby. And when it comes to Shadow, he was undeniably my favourite part of this film, and also, my favourite actor, Keanu Reeves, doing the voice for him was also, in my opinion, incredible. Definitely, in my opinion, a perfect casting, one of the best castings of all time ever. I'm so glad that myself and my fans wanted him to do a voice, and Paramount actually listened to us and cast him in a role. And Keanu Reeves also said that he did his homework in preparation for a role too as well. And he of course, wanted to stay faithful to a character, and he certainly did that in this film. I can really confirm that, because he absolutely nailed it as Shadow, in my opinion. And Shadow is my favourite voice role of his as well, absolutely. I mean, he already was my favourite voice role when I heard it in the trailers, because he was definitely, in my opinion, a perfect casting. Shadow's also an example of a character who is not like a comical character like Eggman or anything like that. He's actually a full-on serious character for the entire film, and I really appreciate him for doing that because he's faithful to his character, and he was absolutely brilliant in my opinion. So after, of course, Shadow escapes, then we of course, go back to, of course, our beloved three main heroes, of course, which is Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, where they're, of course, together, and they're celebrating Sonic's arrival on Earth as an anniversary party, with, of course, the adopted parents, Tom and Maddie Wachowski. And the main cast, once again, did a brilliant job playing my characters. So Ben Schwartz, of course, returns to reprise his role as Sonic. And in my opinion, this film is where he gives probably the best performance of his whole career, in my opinion, because he really nailed it in this film like he always has done Sonic. But this film, in my opinion, was probably the best of the best for Ben Schwartz, in my opinion, for his career. And Clayton O'Shaughnessy also reprises her role as Tails from various Sonic media like the games and shows and the previous films, of course, in this. And she once again made Tails the amazing character he always has been, of course. And Idris Elba also returns as Knuckles as well, and once again makes him a great character as well. Definitely for voice for Idris Elba to this day, absolutely. Continues to make Knuckles absolutely badass of a character. So, then, however, after, of course, their party, they're interrupted, of course, by the arrival of the gun director Rockwell, who's played by Kristen Ritter. Kristen Ritter, in my opinion, is a great actress, and Director Rockwell is definitely one of my favourite roles of hers. My favourite role of hers will always be Jessica Jones in Marvel, but I think Director Rockwell is definitely, in my opinion, one of her best roles of all time. She arrives and recruits Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, of course, and she dubs them, of course, Team Sonic, to of course, stop Shadow in Tokyo. And we of course, get a scene from a trailer, of course, where Shadow, of course, said to him, "You're a colourful bunch." And then, of course, he overpowers him easily, of course, with his powers, as we also saw in my special clip we also released too for the film. Shadow in this film was absolutely badass, and we also as well get an epic motorcycle chase, because Shadow uses his motorbike, and even has a gun too, just like in the 2005 game, so... yeah, they really did a homework making this film be so famous with Shadow, of course. Then, after, of course, Shadow escapes, Team Sonic then, of course, meet Commander Walters, who then tells them all about Shadow's past, and we also get flashbacks in this film talking about, of course, Shadow's origins, of course, where he was used for experiments headed by, of course, Gerald Robotnik in Gun, and, of course, he developed a close friendship, of course, with Maria, who is Gerald's granddaughter. And then after, of course, they try to escape the facility to stop Shadow being taken away, there's an explosion that happens which accidentally happens and kills Maria. So this, of course, leaves Shadow and Gerald to be, of course, vengeful towards humanity. And Gerald, of course, was in prison but later released, and Shadow, of course, was placed in suspended animation, as we saw, of course, in the prison at the start of the film. Then, however, of course, unfortunately, while, of course, a party's happening at this place they're at, I think it's like some sort of, like, kids' birthday party place, something like that, I think they're at. We then see drones, which are supposed to be ones belonging to Robotnik, which attack and fatally wound Walters, and he unfortunately dies, but he gives Sonic a special digital key card and tells him to keep it safe. So, when it comes, of course, to killing off Walters, what I really love about this film, which makes it be set so apart from the first two films, is it went more mature by featuring, of course, a death scene. So I like how this film made the stakes a lot more higher this time and more serious, which I really appreciated it doing, especially, of course, when you have a character like Shadow in it, of course. Then, after, of course, this happens, Team Sonic, not knowing who to trust, then vow to find Shadow without a gun's help. But then, they encounter Ivor's assistant, Agent Stone, who reveals that Robotnik did not send the drones at all. And they, of course, reunite with Robotnik, who, of course, is able to put on weight from eating lots of junk food and growing his hair out. And I'm also so glad that Jim Carrey came back to reprise his role as Eggman, because he was considering retirement a couple of years ago after Sonic 2. But he said he'd return if the script was a script of gold. And I can confirm the script in this film was gold. And when he came back in this film, he still had as Eggman, absolutely. Like, the guy might be in his 60s, but he was so full of energy in this film, with lots of hilarious moments once again. Like, Jim Carrey never disappoints whatsoever. And it's also clear to me he's really dedicated to his role of Eggman, because he actually grew his hair out for, of course, his first scene, of course, where he's got long hair. And also, Lee Majdubi, who played Agent Stone, actually did cut his hair in real life, which is pretty awesome. So, I love how he was so committed to the film for that, really. Like, Jim Carrey is an absolute legend for that. So, they join forces with Eggman reluctantly, of course, to track down the drones to an abandoned gun base. And then, of course, at the old facility, of course, where this is, Shadow, of course, appears and captures Team Sonic. And, of course, Ivor meets his grandfather, Gerald. And after that, of course, Gerald explains there's two key cards which are needed to activate a weapon he designed for Gun, which is called the Eclipse Cannon, which is an orbital laser that can target any location on Earth, and Gerald wants to use it to destroy Gun's headquarters. And Ivor, of course, joins Gerald, of course, betraying Team Sonic. And I had a feeling he'd do, because, guys, it's Eggman, of course he'd double-cross Sonic, of course he would. And then Shadow, of course, takes a key card, which, of course, Walters gave to Team Sonic, And then this activates a black hole, which of course nearly of course takes Team Sonic with it, but it of course destroys the base. Luckily, they of course escape using a ring, though, thankfully. After this, of course, Team Sonic then of course recruits Tom and Maddie to help them, of course, get the other key card, which is at the gun headquarters in London. And in this mission, and of course, it does, of course, go. We get a really fun moments in this film where Tom and Maddie actually help out and they actually disguise themselves as characters, such as, for example, Maddie's sister Rachel and of course, her husband Randall. So, I think there's probably a film where I can tolerate Rachel the most because it's literally not even her. It's literally just, you know, her being used as a disguise, basically. So, that's why in this one I can tolerate her the most. So I love how this film used Tom and Maddie, of course, where they actually helped out. I definitely really love that they continue to be great characters helping out Team Sonic like they've done before, once again in this film. And the scene in London, definitely, in my opinion, was really fun, of course. And it was really cool for me because I'm, of course, from the UK myself. So I love seeing, of course, London in this film, and, of course, having a part in the story. Then, of course, when it comes to getting the key card, Tom is able to get it from Director Rockwell by being in disguise as Walters. But, of course, unfortunately, Shadow appears and he recognises Walters, of course, and he then, of course, gravely wounds him thinking it's Walters and knocks him unconscious. And he gets a second key card, and this, of course, allows them to launch the Eclipse Cannon. Now, Sonic is absolutely furious that Shadow nearly killed Tom, so he abandons Tails and Knuckles, and he steals the Master Emerald from Wade. So we get a pretty cool cameo by Wade in this film, of course. So once again, Adam Pally reprising his role as Wade, making him a funny character once again. And he becomes Super Sonic, using the 7 Chaos Emeralds contained within. And then he flies up to the Eclipse Cannon as it's being activated, and he confronts Shadow. And we get a really epic fight between him and Shadow, like in the trailer, of course, where Shadow says, "This ends now." Like, that fight, in my opinion, was absolutely epic. And that's why I say, in my opinion, this film was Ben Schwartz's best performance of his career because of how he channeled so much rage into Sonic in that fight scene. Like, when he was fighting Shadow, I could really feel his anger and his rage as he was punching him. And like, I could really feel his anger in that scene. Ben Schwartz absolutely nailed it as Sonic in that scene. Definitely, in my opinion, his best performance as the character. And in this scene, we also get a really cool moment as well where Shadow actually does absorb the Chaos Emerald energy and he becomes Super Shadow. Like, that part, in my opinion, was epic. I love how we got to see Super Shadow in live action. Like, first we got Super Sonic and now Super Shadow. Like, wow. And the battle, in my opinion, was absolutely epic. In my opinion, so much fun. And then Sonic eventually calls All-Power Shadow on the moon, but then he stops after he remembers what Tom said, of course, about how he didn't let his pain get to him, of course, at the start of the film. And then he realises he's been consumed by revenge, and he knows revenge won't lead to a good ending. So, he talks to Shadow about, of course, losing things. He talks about how he lost his guardian Longclaw, and Shadow, of course, relates because he lost Maria. And he tells him that their love for the people they have lost is more important than revenge. Shadow, of course, apologises, of course, for what happened, and then they team up to stop the Eclipse Cannon. And we get a really awesome scene, of course, where we're in space, taking down, of course, Robotnik's drones. It was really fun. And we also get to see, of course, Gerald's true intentions, where he reveals his intent to use the Eclipse Cannon to destroy Earth as revenge for Maria's death. So I don't think Jim Carrey, as well as, of course, playing Eggman, also, in my opinion, did a really brilliant job playing Gerald in this film. He made him, of course, a big contrast to Eggman. And I must say, he actually made him pretty menacing too, I must say, really. I think he did a brilliant job playing Gerald in this. Yeah, it's just really awesome how this one is not one but two Jim Carreys, and he definitely did an amazing job playing both characters in this film, Ivor and Gerald. So, Eggman doesn't want to destroy the Earth. He instead would rather just conquer it than destroy it. So this, of course, leads him to turn against his grandfather, and they have a fight scene, which is definitely, in my opinion, really funny to see. And then Tails and Knuckles eventually arrive on the cannon to help out as well. And just when it looks like, of course, Eggman's about to be defeated by Gerald, they, of course, come in to help, and they knock Gerald into the energy field, which disintegrates him. Definitely, in my opinion, a very satisfying defeat for a character, because he was such a great villain, in my opinion, with a great defeat. Then, after that, of course, Sonic and Shadow and the team are able to then redirect the cannon away from Earth, but it does, of course, unfortunately hit the moon, though, like we saw in the trailer, so that, of course, is what happens. So they do save the Earth, but, of course, they're damaging the moon. This then, of course, unfortunately caused the Eclipse Cannon to melt down, and we get a pretty emotional, but in my opinion, well-executed scene where Eggman and Shadow both sacrifice themselves to move the Eclipse Cannon out of Earth's range before it explodes. It was definitely, in my opinion, a very emotional moment, and I must say, But Eggman also had his version of funny moments too, because he used, of course, his little drone thing to contact Stone as like a broadcast. And we get a funny callback to the first one where he says he loves the way he makes his goat oat milk lattes, which was definitely very nice to see. And Shadow's sacrifice, in my opinion, was also pretty emotional too, because he remembered, of course, his times with Maria. So I think this one really nailed, of course, Shadow's backstory and his origin really well. And this sacrifice, in my opinion, was where it totally paid off, I must say, really. So they, of course, do that. They sacrifice themselves and Earth is saved. Then Sonic reconciles with Tails and Knuckles, of course, with a very nice happy ending for all of them there. And Tom then recovers from his injuries. And then, of course, they celebrate together and they, of course, have their race, of course. So that's, of course, when the film ends, but this film, however, does have credit scenes. So, guys, if you guys want to see, of course, what happens, then here's what happens. There's two of them. So, the first one is a mid-credits, of course, after, of course, the 7, with a great song in this as well, which is definitely great to listen to. With those great music, of course, in the credits, of course, and also when it comes to music in this film, Tom Holkenborg's soundtrack was definitely, in my opinion, really incredible once again. He's all done a great job composing music for the first two films, and in this film, he really knocks out a part with his soundtrack. I've been saying that he's, in my opinion, the most underrated composer of all time, and this film definitely further cemented that opinion of mine, because I think his musical score was fantastic. Now, when it comes to the mid-credit scene, we see Sonic, of course, running around a park at night time during a race with Tails and Knuckles, but he ends up going farther away, and I think it was a Central Park, I think it was, in New York. And he gets under attack by an army of robotic replicas of himself, which is, of course, Metal Sonic. Like, wow. I was really not expecting to see Metal Sonic, of course, and this was really cool to see. But he gets saved by someone, and that someone is, of course, none other than a hammer-wielding female hedgehog, which is Amy. Like, wow. When Amy Rose appeared, of course, like, that was, in my opinion, fantastic. And her design was also great to see as well. Very favourable to how she appears in the games and the shows. And then, after that, we also get a post-credit scene as well, where it's revealed, of course, that Shadow has thankfully survived the destruction, because we see him getting back up from, of course, where he crashed, and he picks up a ring. So, that was definitely, in my opinion, a nice ending, of course, setting up more to come for the character. So, it's not, of course, like his story's over just yet. So, I like how he sets comeback. So, that, of course, is a film. Definitely, in my opinion, the best movie of the year that I've seen. Definitely my favourite video game movie of all time. Like, the wait was 100% worth it, and this hype, like, was so worth it, I must say, really. Like, I'm so happy that I saw this film. Like, it was absolutely fantastic. I love Let's Sonic fans, just what I needed to end off this year when it comes to watching great films. Definitely, in my opinion, the best movie I've seen this year. So, definitely, in my opinion, a masterpiece. And we are getting a 4th movie, of course, and I can already tell you guys now that it's my most anticipated movie of 2027. I really can't wait for that film. I'm so excited for it. And of course, I'm hoping we'll get to see lots of familiar faces returning, of course, and who knows what happened with Jim Carrey. Maybe he'll come back as Eggman, but then again, what I'm wondering is, like, how will they execute it? Because, personally, I think his sacrifice in this film was perfect. So I feel like if he came back in the next one, it will probably undermine the sacrifice, but we'll have to wait and see, of course, how that goes. But Jim Carrey, of course, loves his franchise, and he might probably consider returning, who knows, we'll have to wait and see. But our fan favourites will also probably come back, and we'll also get to see, of course, more familiar faces. I mean, the mid-credits, of course, showed Amy Rose and Metal Sonic, and, of course, post-credits confirmed Shadow is, of course, still alive, so hopefully, of course, we'll see more to come. We'll have to wait and see. But for now, guys, I absolutely loved Sonic 3, and if I was to give this film a score out of 10, I would most definitely give this film, for me, a full-blown 10 out of 10. Best movie of the year, best Sonic movie ever, best video game movie I've ever seen in my life, an absolute masterpiece. So, you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to let in the comments what you guys think of Sonic Hedgehog 3. If you've seen it, let me in the comments below what you think of it. Also, be sure to join the team, press and subscribe, news to come in the future. And I've got to go fast.